Summer is finally here. It hardly feels like it. We barely had a spring. The 1st of June is meteorological summer. It's how we gather our climate stats. The 21st, the summer solstice, when the sun is at its highest point in the sky. Either way, this month in our gardens, it's important to remember to enjoy them, to enjoy our outdoor spaces. And Honda have the perfect mower for you to sit back and relax. This month we'll be learning more about our lawns. We'll also be finding out about how climate change brings drier summers and what it means for our gardens. So it's now time to meet our expert. Okay, I am joined by Simon, who's the head groundsman here at Wormsley. This is your cricket pitch. It looks amazing.
Thank you very much.
Despite the crazy weather we've had. How has it been for you here?
It's been pretty tough. So the weather's getting more bizarre over the years, and the last 2 months especially have been fairly nuts, but you know, we do what we can.
So yeah, obviously April, we've talked about this in previous episodes before, it was so cold. How cold was it here for you guys?
We didn't have one night temperature where it was above 4 degrees, so technically we could have had a ground frost every single night.
A ground frost
in April.
Every single night. And it was the frostiest April that we have ever recorded in the UK. Fast forward to May, how has it been for you here with all the rain?
I think we had 3 dry days up until the last few days of May, so it's just one extreme to the other. And it wasn't warm rain, we like warm rain, but it was cold rain.
Yeah.
So that's Britain for you, I think.
A cold month, and it was after the 4th driest April, we then had the 4th wettest May we've ever recorded. As an average across the whole of the UK was 119 millimetres, which was 171% of what we would normally see. And some places actually had double their May rainfall, breaking all-time records that have stood for nearly 150 years.
Well, knew it was wet, didn't realise it was that wet.
It was honestly so extreme. So what's been the impact on the lawns here with the cold and then the wet and no warm really?
It's the cold that gets us more. When we have dry spells we can water, so that's not too much of a problem, but when you get constant cold weather you don't really want to be watering then, because it just stays there and does nothing to the plant at all. So the grass has been pretty dormant from October until the last sort of couple of weeks really, and now all of a sudden it's just kicked on and we're like trying to get on top of it.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing about June. This is our sunniest month, and it's usually our driest month, and it's the day we have the most sunshine. Of course, we've got the summer solstice coming up. Scotland actually has nearly 17.5 or just over 17.5 hours of daylight. Further south, it's an hour less, around about 16.5. So it's lots of dry weather. Hopefully it will warm up, I promise. But what does that mean for the gardens? It must mean that the grass grows a lot more. We must be getting really busy now.
Yeah, after the wet May and the temperatures just sort of pulling up now, that the grass has started just sort of shifting on, and we've been putting fertiliser down, and the rain that we've had and the warmer temperatures, it really is starting to shift now.
So it will start to grow a lot quicker. Around the pavilion here for the sort of a regular type lawn, how often will you be cutting that now this month?
We're cutting that 3 times a week now.
Wow.
Which is just, you know, and it's quite a time-consuming job as well. There's only certain times we can do it as well, because we have opera here and stuff like that. So we are quite a condensed period when we can go out grass cutting.
And how about the actual pitch itself?
Well, leading up to matches, we'll be cutting it sort of 6 days a week. Just trying to keep on top of it, because the best thing you can do for grass is keeping it cut regularly. You don't want to let it grow long and then cut it short. It's trying to keep it on top of it.
And so you must have a lot of grass to cover, being really busy. How do you cope with that?
We don't at times, but we've got, as well as the cricket, we've got ornamental lawns, we've got croquet, we've got tennis, the main drives we have to do, and houses on the estate have their own lawns that we have to do. So this is where like the Miimo's been coming in fantastic for us, because it just knows by its sensors when it needs to go out and cut. It does about 700 square metres as well, which is it's a fair sized lawn, and it just takes a bit of pressure off us when we can concentrate on the cricket ground and the lawns around here.
So it really helps you out then, and it rivals me because it basically does its own weather forecast.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the sensors in it. I say I'm not a technical person, but the sensors in it, it knows when to do it. It's rainproof as well, so it can go and cut when the weather's, when we probably wouldn't cut because our heavy machinery. So it goes out in inclement weather, which we do get quite a bit of, and it just keeps on top of the grass by cutting it regularly. I say the worst thing you can do is just just letting it get long and lanky. If you just keep going out and keep it on top of it, it's the best thing you can do.
So it knows the best areas to cut?
Yeah, the sensors finds out when certain areas grow better than other sensors. It could be your soil, could be your shade, damper, stuff like that, and it's cleverer than me. It goes out and it finds all these details, and it will just go and cut when it knows it is the right time to cut.
Perfectly. So I guess that's another thing, isn't it? This month, people should also try and enjoy the fruits of their labour, enjoy their gardens more. So if you have the Miimo, it means you can sit back and relax. You need them for everywhere.
Yeah, for people that don't enjoy grass cutting like we do, yeah, it's sort of it's perfect. You know, grass cutting is time consuming. It's time consuming. So with the weather getting more extreme, which we've noticed here, we're 3 weeks behind where we normally are. I mean,
3 weeks
yeah,
behind.
I know, it's nuts. How do you explain that?
I mean, it just all comes back to climate change. It's something we talk about more and more, but we are going to experience more extreme swings from like one way to the other. You know, it's linked to the jet stream that used to kind of ripple across us and just maybe move every week or every couple of weeks. But obviously for the whole of April, it was to the wrong side of us, it was to the south of us and it was cold, and then fast forward to May, for nearly the whole month it was overhead, and what we need for this month is for it to go north and bring drier, sunnier, warmer weather in it, and it succeeded in part, and that's what we are now seeing, that, you know, our winters are getting much wetter, so we're getting really heavy rain and fewer frosts, but then the summers are getting much drier as well, which is obviously really bad for our gardens and our lawns, because when we have the rain in the wind in the summer, it's most likely now we'll have a big long dry spell, and then a thunderstorm will come, bringing a lot of rain in a short amount of time, and a lot of rain on a short amount of time isn't good for our lawn, is it?
It's not great, because one of the things that you find when you get a lot of heavy rain, it can leach all the nutrients out of the ground very quickly. This is one of the things that the Miimo does very well. Instead of us having to fertilise, because it micro mulches, cuts regularly, all the clippings go back down into the soil, and so we don't have to put as much fertiliser back down into the ground, because it's just the regular cutting chops it up. And instead of removing the clippings like we do, so we have to fertilise, it just self-fertilises.
And water is the other thing, you know, you need the heat for the grass to grow, but you need water as well. With these drier summers coming and a big prolonged spell of dry before you get a bit of rain, what can we do? Because you're really lucky here, you have a water supply, but what can people do in their gardens to make sure that they have enough water?
Well, I'd say some people just store their water on the estate here. We say we've got a borehole, but we have storage containers down at the gardens as well. One of the tips when you do water is try and water late at night if you can, because if you water in the middle of the day, it all evaporates.
Yeah, with the heat,
so trying to do it in the evening is the best time, or if you have to do it, try and do it on a cloudy day. Don't do it on a warm day. But
I know the advice from the Environment Agency is that, you know, to not be watering our lawns, because we will have the shortage in the summer. Will our grass come back? Will it be okay?
Very hard to kill grass, as you probably sort of found out, but they say the best thing is to get your grass as healthy as you can in the winter, in the spring, get the roots down, and say just get a bit of fertiliser on it just to try and get it as strong as you can. It will come back. It's got to take a lot of really extreme weather to kill grass. And
then just keep regularly cutting.
Keep regularly cutting. Yeah. If it's going really brown and that, sort of don't worry about it. It will come back.
So looking ahead to June and what people will be doing in their gardens, like you were saying, we're going to be cutting a lot more often. So what are your top tips to getting the best lawn? And I've heard about whether you go one way or the other. What do you think?
Yeah, if you can alter the direction that you cut, it's better for the grass. I mean, the grass sort of wants to stand up, but when you keep cutting it one way, it goes over there and starts lying flat. But if you can cut the other way, you know, it pushes up, and so altering the height of the direction of cut is really handy.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, and say just a bit of fertiliser. Keep on top of your weeds, because the weeds will start encroaching where your grass should be.
Don't I know it?
Yeah, and yeah, it's just get your grass as healthy as you can, and then it will come back. So moving forward, how wet do you think it could become?
I mean, wet's going to become the norm. 6 of the 10 wettest years the UK's ever recorded going back to the 1860s have all been since 1998, and Met Office now look forward to 2070 and we look at extreme rainfall events, and they're set to increase by 25%, the ones that we get every 1 or 2 years, will come more frequently, perhaps every year. And the Environment Agency looked at flash flooding events, so 30 millimetres of rain in an hour, and those events will double by 2070 if we change nothing. So, you know, the effects on our gardens and the risk of flooding increases massively.
Yeah, wow. Very interesting. We'll all be using different grasses in the future.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We know our gardens are going to have to adapt, and you know what we can now grow is changing. We won't be able to be growing that in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
So June, it's a busy month. Obviously, spring is busy for everything starting to grow, but now it is warm and the grass is going to be growing loads. So how often do we need to be cutting our lawns?
Minimum once a week, ideally twice a week. If we could go out and cut more, we would. That's the thing with the Miimo, it can go out every single day.
Every day?
Every single day, so it just takes this little bit of grass off, doesn't let it grow long and lanky. So it's better for the grass, keeping it nice and sort of compact. With the sensors, it has its map and mow system. It just works really well, and it calculates what needs doing, what areas are growing better, what are growing don't need cutting so often, and it does its own cutting calendar for you.
So how does it know where to go? How does it not fall off the edge of the lawn?
Yeah, especially when you've got like banks like this. you put a wire around, a boundary wire, and it just goes up to the wire, and it just knows it cannot go any further, then it goes off in a different direction.
I mean, it just sounds really clever, this Miimo, with all of the things that it can do.
Oh yeah, I mean it's incredible. Even you can set it on your app, so you could be lying on your beach bed somewhere, press a button, and off it cuts. So yeah, I mean it's very, very clever.
I need one of those for my husband to go to work, do things when I'm at work. So you know, who gets more tired, you or the machine?
Well, unfortunately we do. We can't go back into our little docking station and charge up and go out whenever we want. We have to go back for a cup of tea.
It has its power sharp source and you have your cup of tea.
Yeah,
oh,
pretty much.
I'd love a brew right now. I can't believe it's summer and it's still raining. It's so rainy, it's so annoying.
So we've got lots of cricket coming up. What's the weather looking like for the next few weeks?
Everyone's hoping for dry, warm, sunny weather, I'm sure. Well, here's the all-important details for the month ahead. The all-important forecast for June into July, and actually a look at summer as well. Well, the rest of the month, England and Wales, lots of warmth, lots of sunshine. The heat continues. It's been so nice after the cold spring we've had, but the humidity brings the risk of thunderstorms. Scotland and Northern Ireland, the risk of being cloudier, temperatures around about average, but that's better than where it's been. The outlook into July, weather fronts more likely to push in from the west, but temperatures still remain average. And the outlook for summer, well, temperatures most likely to be average or above, rainfall average or above, so a warm summer ahead, but the chance of some thunderstorms.